is this the Halloween episode? Because we're about to let some skeletons out of the closet.
Wow, 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 wow.
New mic arm. You're gonna have to get used to that.
I know. It's trying to give me karate fights. Anyway.
I'm just watching you like fiddle with everything over there.
I know. Normally I don't have the laptop power, but
I know.
Here we are.
You're in the driver's seat today.
I know. Well, and I guess before we get started, I guess we should say thank you for all the support and stuff, because we broke over 50 subscribers on the YouTube channel.
We did.
And that's wild.
Yeah.
We're just two people.
40,000 views?
Yeah.
On just YouTube. I don't know what it is everywhere else, but
like we're just two people in a basement. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
like 50 people.
And
52
I mean,
people,
like,
I think.
You know, we just started doing the podcast again in the beginning of January, and you know, we've done it now for a long time. I don't know when we posted the first episode, but you know, it's lived a lot of different lives, so it's just fun to see this version of it doing
so
well.
that's really exciting. So thanks for the support and stuff. I don't know if I look at you or not, but thanks.
I'm going to look you in the eyes.
So
Thank you.
If you like what you see or hear, like, comment, and subscribe. Force Family Funtime on everywhere.
Well, if they're watching this, wouldn't they?
Well, yeah, but like follow us on Instagram and stuff.
Sure.
We do TikTok, I guess.
Not well, apparently.
Not well. It's targeted towards the youths.
Yeah.
13 to 17. And we're 30 with kids.
Well, I mean, if you go by YouTube, our demographic is very firmly in like the 29 to 35.
Yeah, lots of dudes.
Hey, dudes.
Hey, dudes, why don't you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel? I see you watching, so just give it a like and say hey.
Yep, that's plenty of that. On to what we're actually here for.
Yeah, because you sent me a post or a reel or whatever on Instagram about, like, I don't exactly know what it was. I probably should have pulled it up, but it was like, there was like glass breaking. It was like, I don't know, some popular trending sound. And this woman with her cup of coffee, like, you know, doing it all with kids and not having a village and stuff. And like, everything's great. And then there was like glass breaking and stuff in the background.
Yeah. And I guess before we get too much further, maybe trigger warnings. I don't know. We might talk about some like traumatic shit. You know, I don't know what the content is going to be, because it's just going to be our conversation, but you know, just be prepared that it might be some heavy topics.
Yeah. It's just our experience.
Yeah.
Yours might be worse. Yours might be better.
And we are not experts, so.
No, we're just two people in a basement talking to each other for an hour or so.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, because I felt like this week, okay, and I guess let me say too, we chose to have children.
Yeah.
You know, it takes a village, blah, blah, blah. Before COVID, because we had a COVID baby, 2020.
Well, let's be very clear. We got pregnant before COVID was ever a thing.
Yeah. She would just happen to be born in the midst of lockdown.
I know, but some people are like, oh, you were locked in your house, so you got to boinking.
No, we boinked long before that.
Yeah.
So, anyway. And it was like this week, we had both kids home a number of days. I lost count while we still had to work.
At least, I think it was at least 3 days.
Right. Like we would send them. They would get sent home. They were fine.
Doctor's
and they got sent home again. Yeah. At least 2 doctor's appointments. Many doctors note antibiotics. Kids were sick with completely different issues.
Which makes it even that much more fun, because then you almost don't want them to be around each other.
And thank goodness they weren't, because, you know, Craig would fall asleep on the way home from school and go straight to bed.
Yeah.
Because he's just so exhausted. And then like she's just vibing.
Yeah. She had a little bit of the diarrhea. And she threw up once, but it almost seemed like a fluke.
Ton of water.
Yeah. So she just had a really upset tummy.
Yeah.
And then, Craig was double eye infection, upper respiratory infection.
He was going through it.
He was in bad shape.
But everyone's great now.
Yeah, no. Thank God for antibiotics.
Yeah. Modern medicine is great.
I know. It just, sometimes you're like, man, can we just get to the antibiotic step?
Yeah.
Because I know it's just going to knock this out.
Right. Especially for them. and him, because he's just so little still.
Yeah.
It's like, can we just give him something to make him feel better? I don't care if you think it's a virus, just hit me with that amoxicillin. But yeah, so it's like, we didn't have any help. We've never had any help. And, you know, in the beginning when COVID was bad, we were super strict because no one knew anything about it.
Especially with the new baby.
Right.
Yeah.
We had a brand new baby. You know, we were just super strict about who could hold her. And, you know, that upset a lot of people. And that's where I feel like a lot of our family issues started.
Well, with your family
Yeah,
specifically.
with mine.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't talked to my mother in a decade at least. Maybe
11
a little longer.
years.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Long time.
Yeah.
So like that was long before children or COVID or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I think before we had kids, we kind of had this dream scenario in our heads that, you know, every Friday was going to be date night. The grandparents were going to be there for everything, and we'd have plenty of support, plenty of help. We'd never really have to worry about, like, you know, are we going to be able to do the things we want to do still? Right. Are we going to be able to, like, find help if we need help? Like, we were like, we got plenty of people.
And I guess I don't want to say that was the promise projected to us, but that was also the promise that was projected to us.
Yeah.
You know, my parents had big dreams of what being grandparents would be like. Romanticized, I would say at this point, you know, reflecting back.
Sure.
And it was just like, you know, they would take them for a night or the weekend or a whole week sometimes. So like you and I could go do adult things.
Yeah.
And, you know, that relationship kind of fell through, it didn't fall through with COVID. And what that woman had posted about, or a different woman that you had sent me, was this book called Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. This is really small text. How to Heal from Distant, Rejecting, or Self-Involved Parents. And I was like, whatever she read, like a little excerpt, whatever, a little section of the damn book she read. I was like, hello? Are you talking to me?
Because you downloaded the
Kindle
sample on Kindle. And it was like 60 pages and you crushed it.
I read it while you were in the bathroom. I was like speed reading. I could see the words like, and I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, obviously everyone had different experiences. My parents weren't the worst by any means.
Yeah. I mean, I think if people want to go through the exercise of who had it worse, you can always find a worse example. So like we're not trying to like set the bar low. No. Literally just our experience.
Because it was like, you know, an emotional immaturity takes a lot of different forms.
Yeah.
So I do have a worksheet.
Oh, okay.
And you don't have to say it out loud, but like these are just some of the things that, like, you know, if you have one or more of these checked, like your parents probably were emotionally immature.
Okay.
And I feel like, you know, with our parents' generation, most of them were, in my experience, because, you know, obviously their parents were like, you know, capital punishment's cool, and like you can beat your kids at school and that's great. And like, you know, kids should be heard. Nope. Kids should be seen and not heard. Like they're those kids.
Yeah.
And so it's like most of them didn't have those skills going into us. And I guess too, like we were latchkey kids. Like so many of us were that, like, you know, even if they were.
Well, you say so many of us were. I don't know if there was a lot of us.
I felt like there was. Maybe just because I was and you were. It's like that's everybody.
Well, in our lives.
Yeah.
Because like, you know, I grew up in an area that there was a lot of kids that were well off. So, you know, I don't know that they necessarily were latchkey children. I mean, they obviously had like professional parents, doctors and lawyers and that kind of crap. But I also think they probably had babysitters and nannies and
probably, and we just had ourselves.
Yeah. Figure it out.
Yeah. So it's like maybe, you know, they were working all the time and just weren't home or whatever the case might be. So it's like my mom was single for whenever my parents got divorced, what did I say, 7 and 8 until 10, 11? I think 10 or 11. I don't know.
Are you talking about when she got remarried or just when she started dating your
Well, I guess I
stepdad?
don't know when she started dating for real, like, because he was the only one we ever met.
Oh, okay.
I think. I don't think we ever met anyone else. But it's like some of these things, it's like my parents definitely were not these. And some of them were like, oh shit, yes, that's, my experience. Because like my dad was always the friend. He's also, sorry, a raging alcoholic.
Sorry, you're apologizing?
If he's listening, I see you. I know what you are, man. You ain't fooling nobody.
I mean, you've told him that. It's not like it's
I
a
have.
secret.
It's not a secret at all. Yeah, because I was like, if you stop drinking, maybe we can talk.
Right.
But until then,
we're good.
We're good. Because you mean.
But yeah. Especially when he gets deep in his drinks.
When I'm getting those voice to texts at like 3:00 in the morning, like, sober people aren't awake at this time.
Everybody that is a normal functioning human is getting ready to go to work tomorrow.
Yeah. So like some of these things on this worksheet, your parents might be emotionally immature. My parent often overreacted to minor things. Okay. When it came to emotional closeness and feelings, my parent seemed uncomfortable and didn't go there. I felt like that was mine.
Oh, see, the first one definitely, the overreacting to little things. Mm-hmm. Man, it was like, now, I'll say that like, it seemed like it kind of came in waves. There was times that like nothing would set them off. And then there was times that it felt like everything set them off. Because
that was a section in this book that was like, you have that fleeting random moment of closeness and you're like, you try to grasp onto it or like you try to figure out what it is that pleases them. So you keep doing it and then you lose more of yourself type of thing. And then this one, I was like, when I was growing up, my parent used me as a confidant, but wasn't a confidant for me.
I don't think, for me anyways, that one doesn't really resonate so much.
Not for me. My parent often said and did things without thinking of other people's feelings.
That one's hard for me because I do feel like my mom is really selfish. Mm-hmm. I think she cared about certain people's feelings, just not her children.
And then this one, I know because we talked about it the other night. It's like, I didn't get much attention or sympathy from my parent except for when I was really sick.
Yeah. Yeah, because as we were talking about that, I had like a flash realization of during elementary school, I would go to the clinic almost every single day because it was the only time that I felt like anybody was checking in on me. Or like wanted to and like, of course that creates a boy who cried wolf type situation then, because now I'm in there every day and every day they're going, okay, you need to go back to class now. But it was like the only time, and because even the nurse, right? Like I felt like I was getting that like, oh, are you okay? You should lay down for a little bit. Like I felt like I was almost getting that mothering from the people that were working in the clinic at the school. So like, I think that I never thought of it that way, but it was like, oh shit. Yeah. I wasn't really getting that attention until I was sick or saying that I was sick.
Cause I highlighted this whole section and it was like, they focus on the physical instead of the emotion. And it was like, all of my physical needs were met. Like, we were housed and clothed, and I played softball and extracurricular, whatever. I played music for a minute. I dabbled.
Sure.
Clarinet, violin. That was it.
Oboe.
No. I wanted to play the bass or the cello because it was so cool and big. I played the violin. No, the viola. Anyway. But, it's like all your physical needs are met. So it's like, quote, I don't know if I'll read the whole thing, but emotionally immature parents can do a good job of taking care of their children's physical and material needs In the world of food, shelter, and education, these parents may be able to provide everything that's needed in terms of the physical, tangible, or activity related. Many of these parents make sure their children get every advantage they can afford, but when it comes to emotional matters, they can be oblivious to their children's needs. And then it says, like when you're sick, they create this attentiveness to prove, they love you, they care for you, they want to get you back to that acceptable physical state where they can back off again. And I remember we always had to try it. We couldn't be like, I don't feel good, and then just stay home. We always had to go to school and try it. So it was most of the time, even if I still felt sick, I would stay at school.
Right.
So it's I'm sure she thought she shot by the seashore.
That's exactly what I thought.
Right. It's she probably was oh, I wasn't that sick, even if I was. Because it's I feel even today, I can't take a day off.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, and it always felt unless I had a diagnosis, I wasn't sick. You know what I mean? I needed a doctor to be you have strep or you have a sinus infection or an ear infection, whatever. But it was, if there was no doctor's note with my parents, then I was not sick.
Yeah. Because it says well-being taken cared for in non-economical areas can create fusion in people who grow up to be emotional lonely. They have overwhelming physical evidence of their parents' love and sacrifice for them, but they feel a painful lack of emotional security and closeness with their parents.
Because it's funny, you talking about the physical needs, the housing, the clothes, all that kind of stuff. That was always the first thing that I remember my mom holding over our heads, guilting us about.
Yeah.
Was well, you've got a place to sleep, right? You've got clothes on your back, you've got food, and it's yeah, you had kids,
right?
You're a parent.
Oh yeah, we always got I put a roof over your head, I pay the bills.
Yeah, that's your fucking job. If you didn't do that, you would go to jail.
I'm a child.
I can't help that. But it was also the first thing, as soon as I was 18, it's the first thing that I was asked for. Oh, well, you live here, you need to pay rent. Oh, you live here, you need to pay for food. And I remember, I got a mini fridge for my bedroom.
Oh, I remember the mini fridge.
Because, that's what, ironically enough, the mini fridge I'm referencing was also the straw that broke the camel's fucking back. But I got a mini fridge right out of high school because I would buy food with my money from my job, and I would put it in the cabinets, and then I would go to eat that food and it was just gone. And sure, I don't mind I would share it, but it was all or nothing. And so then I bought a mini fridge, and I'd buy 12 packs or whatever and keep it in my room, or I would buy snacks or whatever and keep it in my room, because I was essentially told that I needed to pay for that stuff if I wanted it. Well, then when I paid for it, it wasn't there because they were eating it.
Right.
And I told the story about me paying with quarters to get a pizza. It's when I finally had enough money to start to buy the things that I wanted for myself, it felt like I couldn't enjoy them, because then it turned into a guilt trip of, well, if you're going to buy it, why don't you buy enough for everybody? It was I don't know, because I'm fucking 16. I make $6.85 an hour.
Right.
My paycheck was a whopping $123. So I would like to maybe hold on to some of that. But yeah, there was always this, well, now you're an adult, so you're going to pay for these things. And, when I moved back in with my mom, that was one of the first things she said to me was, okay, well, you need to start paying rent. And we talked about this too, on last episode or a couple episodes ago. It's your adult child.
Oh yeah,
doesn't have,
it was I'm the asshole.
Yeah, am I the asshole? Yeah. But it's your adult child needs help getting back on their feet. They're in a situation where they can't find a place to rent or whatever. So that should just be okay. You're not asking your other two children for rent that live with you.
Right.
You're not asking for them to pay for food or gas in the car. my mom would ask me to like go to the gas station and get her like pop and cigarettes, and like, you know, I was just expected to like go and provide that. I remember at one point I was like, why don't you go ask your husband to buy you those things? Why am I paying? Like, she quit her job and then she's like, you go buy me these things now. And I'm like, no, fuck off. I'm not spending my money on your addictions. Like, that's not for me to do.
Because like we never had any, well, as I didn't have any of that. Because, you know, we've talked for hours and upon hours of how differently myself and my brother were raised. And we were so close, like 15 months apart. So it's like, I don't know, you think you would basically raise us as twins, but I felt like she was so much more involved with him than me. Because like she says, you know, the court said I was my dad's kid and she had my brother.
Right.
And that's just like claiming on taxes and paying for sports or whatever.
Right.
But it almost felt like the judge was like, yep, she is his, he is yours. And that was it.
Right.
Like for everything. So it's like, obviously my physical needs were met, but I always felt lonely. And I guess I thought that was just like the normal depression people went through. But now I'm wondering, like, was my experience with like the depression and teenage angst, obviously it's normal, like your shit's all trying to get figured out up there.
Right.
But like, is that normal for normal people and happy families?
Yeah.
I don't know anymore.
Because it makes you think, like, we always talk about wanting to be the parents that if a kid is on a reality show, they're like, I love my mom or I love my dad so much. I have a picture of them in my kitchen, one in my bathroom. Like, my parents are my heroes. And it's like, you know, not necessarily our experience. And it just makes you wonder, like, did those people have like an angsty, depressive teenage year? You know, because I think, especially, and I guess this kind of turned into a therapy session a little bit, but
that's what we do it for.
You know, it was like my parents got divorced at 9, or when I was 9. My brother was 3, 6 years younger than me. And it was like, you know, my dad saw us every other weekend, Wednesday nights. And then like my mom, she was a manager at a restaurant. So she worked just the most bizarre hours, a lot of swing shifts where it was like she'd work 16-hour shifts or whatever. And she was gone from early in the morning until 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. So it was just us. And there was an expectation set that I was like, I had to do all the dishes. I had to do all the laundry. I had to keep the house clean. I had to do my homework. I had to make sure my brother's schoolwork got done. I had to make sure we ate. Like, I was 9. And of course, like, my mom would tell you that she was taking care of her brothers and sisters younger than that, you know.
That
Again,
doesn't mean it was okay.
Right. Yeah. But it's just that it's like this was my experience and I'm okay. So you should be fine with this experience as well. But yeah, I mean, it was, I was expected very early to mature and, you know, take on all these additional things. And man, the depression that hit me when I got to like puberty age
it was dark.
Bad.
It was not a good time.
You know, and like the only reason that I never went through with trying to kill myself was because of my brother. Because it was like I didn't want him to be alone. Right. I was the barrier, right? And I felt like, you know, I am not his parents, but it was my job to oversee him and take care of him. And I was worried that if I wasn't around, nobody else would do that. And like, yeah, it was just the highest level of expectation at all times. I had to succeed at everything. You know, straight A student, black belt in karate, Eagle Scout, everything had to be to the highest level. And it was like, I just felt like even doing all those things, nobody saw me. Nobody knew I was there, which was always my thought when I was like deep in my depression was like, nobody would know I was gone. It would have zero effect on anybody. It'd be a fucking newspaper headline and then it would be gone. And like, you know, that's dark shit to think about when you're 12 or 13. And, you know, my parents they didn't even know I was depressed. I remember telling my dad, I don't know, when I was like 19 or 20, I remember telling him that I was like suicidal in my teen years. And he was like, I had no idea. And it's like, yeah, you know, nobody really checked.
Right.
Nobody was ever like, how you doing? Because, you know, like it's always like, oh, how was school? Good.
It was fine. Did you learn anything today? No.
Later.
Right. Then you go upstairs or go to your room or whatever. Then that's it.
Yeah. And like, you know, there's obviously a fine line when parenting of like, I'm your friend or I'm your parent. But it's like, I don't ever remember having like a conversation around how I was feeling about anything. You know, I had a friend that died in an accident when I was like 12 or 13, something like that. So height depression.
Right.
And I don't remember anybody ever asking me like how I felt.
Right. Yeah. Well, because I had someone that I was close with in high school. He was older, but I think I was 16 or 17, and he killed himself. And I remember I found out at work, and I remember I came home bawling my eyes out. And, you know, my parents were like, what's up? And I told them, you know, my friend killed himself.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, okay. And that was it. Like, not like, are you okay? Do you want to talk about it? It was, okay. Okay, I'm going to go now.
Go deal with that.
See you later.
Yeah.
You know, obviously that's traumatizing anytime.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I was depressed. Then I don't know if they knew eventually, but like, yeah, it just wasn't, I was never seen. And I think
that's what it always felt like. It was like you were there, you existed.
Right.
But there was never like there was no connection to anything.
Because especially now, like looking back, I feel more like a trophy or like an achievement of like, I had a daughter and like I'm a thing. I'm not like a functioning, independent mind. Right. I'm just a daughter.
Yeah, like a person with real thoughts and feelings.
Right.
Yeah. Because I think that's where the like needing to achieve highly came from. It wasn't for my own good. It was to go, look at what I raised.
Yeah.
You know, I built this person. Not like I drug myself through this shit. It was I did this.
Because I remember, obviously, you know, and it was a grandma thing. God rest her soul. But like, you know, if we got a B, she would say, you can do better than that. But, you know, like coming from her, like, it's like, okay, like for you, I'll try or whatever. But it's like, obviously we were held, or I was held to that higher standard than my brother was, in my opinion. And it was just like, you know, I should be the best at everything. I should be smart and could just continue to try to achieve more. But I still remember, and it will haunt me forever. I said, you know, this was years ago. All I ever wanted professionally was to make $20 an hour. And she looked at me and was like,
your mother.
My mother. Yeah. She's like, you'll never make that much. I don't even make that much. And like for her to be like, you'll never achieve that or accomplish that.
Right.
Is just like,
as an adult.
As an adult. Like just because you didn't, like doesn't mean I shouldn't.
Or can't or
right.
aren't able to.
Like no support, just like that dream is stupid. And she didn't say those words, but that's how it felt to me. Is like $20 an hour? Go fuck yourself.
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, I feel like, you know, your job as a parent is just to help like fan the flames essentially. Right. So it's like, I want to make $20 an hour. You're like 20, 30,
Right.
30, 40.
Shoot for the stars.
Yeah. I mean, like, oh, I want to be a pilot. Why not be an astronaut?
Right.
Go to space, baby. You know, like, it's just all like hyping them up to achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve.
Because if Bert was like, or Craig was like, I want to do this, it's like, perfect.
Yeah.
What can we do to get you there?
Yeah. How can I help?
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's like, do you think, because I know I did, when you stopped talking to your mom, did you feel guilty about it?
No.
Or were you just like,
Nope.
cut those ties, see you later?
You know, it's, especially as I've gotten older, I've really realized the value of removing toxic people from my life, which unfortunately means that most people aren't in our lives. But, you know, like, I had no guilt at all because she never felt like a mother or what I guess I wanted or needed in a mother. Because it was always like, I think you said it perfectly. I felt like more of, I was a thing to hold up. I was a post on Facebook. You know, I was, 22 years ago today, I had a baby boy. Right. You know, like it was always just, you know, give me attention, give me love because I raised a young, successful man. You know, and I mean, it was really fucking toxic at the time, but I still held up to it. I remember the last thing I ever said to her was, you will not be at my wedding and you will never meet your grandchildren. And is that fucked up to say? Maybe some people would say so. I've had a lot of people tell me like, oh, that's your mom. It's like, yeah, exactly.
We've had a lot of that.
Yeah.
Like, because, you know, my dad, I never told him I was pregnant the first time. Yeah. Like, that's how long it's been since we spoke at any capacity. And it was like, he's never seen her.
Either of them.
Either of them.
Yeah.
And it's just like, because it leads me into the next question that I looked up from like that reel you had sent me and the book that I started reading. It's a Reddit post on r/Mommit.
Mommit.
MOMMIT.
Like mom Reddit. Mommit. Yeah.
I didn't know it was a thing until now. But it's like, does the village not exist, or do we just not let them help? And I'm like, yes, both of those things.
Yeah, well, I think part of my upbringing was it's not done right unless you do it yourself, which I still really struggle with even today. You know, I think you could attest that if I don't clean it, it's not clean. If I don't, you know, fold it, it's not folded right. If I don't,
except my tank tops, you will not touch those.
No, because you fix them every time. You know, if it's always been like, if you're going to do it right, you got to do it yourself. And so it's like, yeah, I'm not going to let anybody else help because you're not going to do it right. You're not going to do it the way that I would do it.
Right.
But also like our village disintegrated a long ass time ago. I mean, like, I don't really have a person like, well, I've got maybe one that I could think of. I don't really have best friends. You know, there's that group of guys that after high school, you're like, we're going to be friends forever. And that evaporates pretty quick after people start getting married and having kids and like priorities change. So like we never had that, especially since we've had kids, but we've never really had that close group of friends around us to help with the kids. And then because of how our relationships with our parents have gone, we don't have grandparents around to help with the kids. Right. Like the help we get, we pay for. It is babysitters, nannies.
Well, like the grandparents daycare. We do have around, it's like, you know, they have their own shit going on. Yeah. And it's like, I'm not going to be like, you know, if they're able to come over and like just even hang out with the kids or like watch them for a couple hours, like that's perfect. But as far as like that village, that group of people,
right.
It's like, we just don't have that. Because it's like this, one of the top comments on here was like, you know, nowadays we have up-to-date information at our fingertips, you know, as my laptop sitting in my lap. Like you Google how to feed your infant, what can infants eat, how to cut things. And it's like, you know, when their mom offers outdated, sometimes dangerous information or advice, she doesn't understand why I won't let her fill that role or like complete it or whatever. Yeah. And it's like, I remember when we took Bert to my mom's house and she was eating a whole meatball.
Yeah.
Like this thing was gigantic.
Yeah.
And like baby led weaning, totally fine.
Right.
And she was just like, you can't do that. You can't do that.
Yeah. You're not big enough for that.
Yeah. Like talking to her, like you're not big enough. Or she would question me, like, can she do that? Like, are you sure that's safe? Like, what about this? I'm like, no, she can't have, you know, whole carrots. It's a choking hazard, or grapes, or whatever the case was. And it was just like, you know, that was, the tension was still there, but it was just like, you know, and the boundary pushing, which is also why I felt like I was a thing and therefore my children were just extensional things of me.
Yeah, new shiny toy.
Right. Well, it's like, because, you know, I'm a mom now. She's a nana.
Yep. I think it goes back to like, especially living in a social media era.
It's another title for Facebook.
It's another like, look at my grandbabies. Look at my beautiful daughter who had these beautiful kids. Right. Like it's all what can I post on the internet to look like the best version of myself.
And it was just like from the beginning, you know, we had said too, like, we don't want to put our kids on social media, on our social media,
right.
Because it's like, you know, there's a lot of fucking sickos out there, number one, but it's like, they don't have a choice yet. You know, obviously we'll post some pictures, but most of them are like on our personal private pages. It's on the 24-hour story and then it goes away.
Yeah. Well, and you know, I don't know what the right age is, you know, like if she got old enough and she's like, I want to do a podcast, you know what I mean? Or like, I want to do a YouTube channel. It would be very hard to jump into that because I feel like a lot of parents take advantage of their children again for that like internet clout.
Oh, it's so gross.
And if it's something that's just like fun to do with mom and dad, and it's just like, to me, a YouTube channel or like video editing or podcasting or whatever is like just a new hobby for a lot of people. I mean, it is for us, right? So it's like if my kids are like, well, you guys do this, I want to try it. Okay. You know, but it's like, you know, you got to put boundaries out there of like, you know, your 6-year-old kid isn't like, I don't know, becoming like, I just feel like there's got to be like fan pages for like young child creators. Yeah. I mean, who was it? That bad baby, the Cash Me Outside girl. The day she turned 18, she had an OnlyFans, and like
she made millions of dollars in like a minute, didn't she?
Yeah, but like 17 not okay, 18 okay, millions of dollars to see you naked or whatever is on her page. But it's just like that to me means that like there was dudes when she was on Dr. Phil, I don't know how old she was, teenager, they were just like, I cannot wait to see that girl naked. And like, as now the father of a young girl, I'm just like,
no, thank you.
You know, maybe we'll make you like a fun avatar and then you can be like a VTuber.
That's not a bad idea because I bet she'd really like that.
But yeah, it's, you know, we just wanted to like allow our kids the chance to choose whether or not we share. Because I know so many parents that every single day post every photo they take for everything they do. And it's like, is anything for you?
Well, that's part of it too, especially now. It's like not everyone deserves those photos.
Yeah.
That joy of our awesome, the cutest kids in the world.
Okay, so being introspective about it, is that us treating our kids as an item then?
I don't necessarily think so because it's like I don't treat them like an item. I just don't want, like, obviously I removed my mom from my social media, but it was like I didn't want to keep her on there for her to see these photos because I don't feel like she deserves them because she doesn't have a relationship with me.
Right.
So I don't feel like, therefore, she deserves a relationship with my kids.
Yeah.
And ever since COVID, the boundaries that we set because we were so careful were just pushed and crossed and questioned every time. So it's like now, and it's not like I haven't discussed this with her because I have at length. I've done several counseling sessions with her and she still doesn't get it, refuses to get it. And, I've told her again and again, you cannot have a relationship with my children without fixing this first. And I feel like she still continues to push those boundaries because the kids get cards and letters and shit in the mail. And it's like, my kids don't check the mail. Who do you think checks the mail?
They can't read yet.
What?
And like, they didn't have a relationship with you before, so they don't miss you now.
They don't know you.
It's just now that Bert has started to go like, oh, where's your mommy and daddy? Oh, where's your mommy and daddy? And a lot of it is just like, I don't know, probably at their house.
Yeah.
But like, she doesn't know them.
She's just like, okay, cool. And then carries on.
Right. And, we've always said that it's not the kids that are missing out on anything. Controversial. I know some people will be fucking upset about it. It's the grandparents that miss out.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think we ever asked for anything ridiculous.
No.
I mean, during COVID, it was, please wear a mask, please socially distance, quarantine if possible. I mean, go do grocery pickup, do curbside pickup for your food.
Don't go out. Right. Don't go into a restaurant. Don't go where large groups of people go.
And again, I know that COVID, even mentioning it on the internet will just rile people up, but it's just nobody knew. And my biggest fear on the planet was having a brand new baby and this virus being out there, and then weeks, months later, watching our baby get put on a ventilator. And it's like, I can't do that.
And like, because my thing was too, like, had we not had kids during that time, it would have been 100% different.
Yeah.
Because I would have been like, we're young, we're healthy. Even if we got it, we'd probably be fine.
Right.
But like, because we had her, and it's like, could you imagine we did let people in? We let people in that weren't as careful as us or that as we wanted them to be, and she got sick because of them.
Right.
Are you serious?
Right. Because there was headlines every day. They have that. There was a counter that you could go see how many people were sick or how many people had died, and every day was headlines about old people and kids, old people and kids, old people and kids, and it was like, no, I'm not risking it.
Right.
It's not worth the risk to me.
And anymore, like now that, it's still a thing, but it's not obviously nearly as bad because we go out with the kids now. But it's like, if it did anything, it showed me that remote work is the best work. And like, all those people that are no longer in our lives, we're better for it.
Yeah.
Because like, could we have that village? Absolutely. But I'm not willing to sell a piece of myself for that.
I think our village would be full of village idiots.
Well, absolutely it would. Because some of these people, especially on those reels that you had sent me, they were like, their village isn't necessarily worth it because the kids come home and they have to spend days re-teaching them what they learned there.
Yeah.
Because like, that's not how we do it here.
Right.
Like, that's not right. That's not okay. Whatever.
Yeah.
Like you have to reteach them the right way.
Well, when we were talking about the right way to do things, information at your fingertips. How many things is it like, oh, well, we didn't have car seats like that when you guys were kids, or, we didn't cut your food up like that, or we didn't make your bottles that way.
Right.
It's like so many like weird. It's things that you don't think about, but they're like, well, we didn't do that.
Oh, it was so much of that.
And it's like, well, yeah, but guess what? People have learned that there's a better way. And it's the same thing with this parenting stuff, right? It's like, do we not have a village, and we're also trying to break generational trauma? A lot of people are saying that that's like the millennial generation is like ushering in this generation of people that are trying to do better by fixing themselves first, which just hasn't happened with other generations.
Right. Like breaking this cycle, like, the gentle parenting thing. Because I asked you earlier, and it's like, obviously our parents didn't go through our childhood like, am I fucking up my kids?
Right.
And I was like, do you think, how we're trying to raise our kids, it's going to fuck them up somehow?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you're nurturing them. You're providing them a safe space to feel things.
Yeah. Providing unconditional love.
Right. Like, they're probably going to turn out fine. I mean, I'm sure we'll fuck them up in some capacity, but like...
I'm sure we already have.
Because, like, the whole village thing, it's like, obviously we chose this. We chose to cut these people out, whatever. But it's like, there's some times, and, in that book, it says it happens. You lose your patience. You had a long day at work. Maybe you don't feel good, but you didn't take the day off because you don't feel like you can.
Yeah.
You can't take a rest day.
Yeah.
And it's like, they're whining about nothing. Mm-hmm. Mommy, 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 screaming at you in the dark.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I need to step away from this.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah, because like there's so many things that are triggers, and I'm sure so much of it is because it was something that I wasn't supposed to do as a kid, right? Because like one of the new things that Bert's been doing is she's been like sticking her tongue out and blowing raspberries when she doesn't like that you said something a certain way. And man, I would have got my fucking head cleaned off if I would have even thought about sticking my tongue out like that.
Well, remember, like, the whining, the crying. I know both of our parents have said it.
Oh, yeah.
I'll give you something to cry about.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember, I'll say it's a funny story. It's probably not very funny now. We went to a grocery store, one of the smaller local grocery stores, and it's a weird kind of store because it's got, like, a big grocery section, but then the whole like entryway of the store is like closeout stuff. So it's got like, toys and clothes,
everything
and
you could ever
rugs
think
and
of.
just all kinds of like bizarre shit. And there was like one of those book racks that's got like coloring books and stuff in it. And I remember I was like looking at coloring books, and I don't know if my mom called for me or said anything to me, but I just like turned around and she was gone. Nowhere to be seen. And I just have a full on panic attack, right? Like I thought I got left at the grocery store. So now I'm running through the grocery store, weeping, screaming, so upset. Go up to customer service. Can't find my mommy, right? Some stranger's like, we'll find your mommy, don't worry. It's not even that big of a store, but like as a child, it's the universe.
Right.
And I remember my mom was so fucking mad at me for she said walking away from her, and she threatened to have my dad beat my ass when he got home from work. I was so upset. I cried the whole way home, and I wore myself out and fell asleep immediately when we got home because I had just been horrified, hyperventilating. Fell asleep until after dinner. Dad was already home, ready for bed, whatever. Nothing happened. Like, it was just like, I don't know, probably a couple of hours of me hyperventilating and crying because I was so worried about the ass beating I was going to get when my dad got home. And it's like, I couldn't imagine doing that to our kids.
Because, like, there's been times, like, when she still hits, but especially she hits you more than me.
Yeah.
But, like, she hits, she spits, because that has been a thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, you just snap
Yeah.
mentally.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I've never hit her. I can't imagine hitting her.
Right.
But I know I have been so angry that it's like, I need to just walk away from you.
Yeah.
You're going to cry even harder, but I just need a minute to take a couple deep breaths away from the situation, and then I will come back to you.
And generally, it seems like most of the time, the other parent is able to step in and like diffuse things. But man, there's been like at least a couple of times where both of us are just over the edge. And then at that point, the fucking ship is lost, guys. There's no captain at the helm. And things aren't going to get any fucking better.
Because it just seems like, you know, we're both up to 11. We're dialed up to 11. Whoever we feel like is like a 10.99 is the one that goes in.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I've been trying really hard to like, especially like nap times and bedtimes, at least kind of recently, she calms down with me, or I can kind of wrangle her. Like, you've been, you know, unavailable sometimes, and it's only me.
Right.
It's like, I try not to get as annoyed with her when she's just screaming. Like, she's exhausted, especially from today and yesterday. It's like, we did nothing
but go. Yeah.
You know, one of our friends came over with her kid and dog today. It was so much fun. I've never seen her have that much fun before.
Yeah, she was having a blast.
And they were just so sweet together. They held hands down the slide. I teared up a little. It was so sweet. But like, you know, nap time was rough. Bedtime was rough. And it's just mommy, 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 mommy.
Well, or a hug.
Hug. But she doesn't want you to hug her.
And then, yeah, as soon as you reach to hug her, she
like
curls away.
Right. Like you're a leper or something.
Yeah.
So it's like the back and forth. It's like a dance. It's like we're waltzing.
Yeah.
Waltzing at the nap time and bedtime.
And it's definitely one of those things that the calmer you can stay through it, the faster you get through it.
Yeah. Because that's what I did. Was it last night? She was screaming. If it was nap time, maybe. I don't know. They're all the same. Like, she was screaming in her room. She would say, "Mommy, mommy, mommy." So I'd come towards her. No, go away, go away. And then eventually I just sat on the floor with my legs and my arms open. I didn't look at her. Well, you know, I try not to make direct eye contact. And it's like, I'm here for you when you're ready.
Yeah.
I talk low. I was sitting on the floor open. So like my body language was like, I'm here.
Yeah.
And then eventually she crawled towards me and then we were good.
Yeah.
And it's just like, my parents would have never done that.
Nope.
I'll give you something to cry about. I put you in this world. I can sure as shit take you out of it.
Take you out of it. Yep.
Like, I don't recall getting spanked often, but it was threatened for sure.
Yeah.
And then they would always threaten to tell my teachers I was bad.
Yeah, that was the thing that worked for you, though.
Because I didn't want my teachers to think I was bad. Because, like, you know, and maybe it was because, like, you know, I always got that positive attention because I was such a good student. I was so attentive. I listened. I was quiet. So, like, they gave me that feedback that I wanted, and I didn't want my parents to ruin that for me. And it's like, because I know we had the one episode that was like happy memories ? And it's like, golly, when you really sit down and think about it, like, shit's sad. But, you know, because then that book too, it talked about how, I haven't gotten to it yet. You know, there's two types of children, like their outcomes for like having parents that were emotionally immature, you know, whatever your parent was.
Right.
And I feel like, you know, we are the example of probably the better outcome.
Sure.
Versus, you know, I know we know people.
Yeah, it's like the failure to launch kind of thing. Yeah, I just, when I think back on my childhood, I can find happy memories, but they aren't the first thing that come to mind.
Right. And
I think that's the saddest thing for me is like, I have to dig for the happy stuff. And I, you know, as a parent, I don't ever want my kids to feel the way I do. And I think every generation, hopefully, just wants better for their kids. But I feel like the millennial generation, on top of like dealing with multiple financial crises now, pandemic, ongoing war that never ends, You know, a lot of shit. I think the millennials have all kind of went, whoa.
Yeah.
Is it me? Am I the problem? Am I the drama?
Am I the drama?
And I think through that introspection, I think a lot of our generation, and I think Gen Z is even more extreme than us. You know, they've started to go, okay, these are the things I need to do better for me. Mm-hmm. And now how can I teach that to my kids? Because like so much of our job now is like we have to regulate our own emotions to then help our kids regulate.
Yeah.
I have zero skill.
It's hard
in emotional regulation.
And it's like, I feel like we've been, especially because there's like no village to learn from, but also it's like our village doesn't have those skills themselves. No, so it's like we've just been flying by the seat of our pants. But I feel like we've been doing such a great job, if I could just pat ourselves on the back. And I've been trying really hard. Like, I hate telling her she's a big girl. I try so hard not to say, be a good girl or you're a good girl, because it's like, I feel like that's just, you know, gonna fuck shit up.
Yeah.
I try not to talk about, you know, she's fucking cute. She's cute as a button. But I try not to be like all the time
based on her appearance.
Her appearance, like beautiful girl,
strong.
Whatever. Yeah, she's strong. But it's like, you know what? Yeah. Sometimes even if you're strong, it's okay to ask for help. Or she calls herself a big girl because I think they say it at school.
They do.
But I'm like, but you know what? Big girls ask for help.
Yeah.
Because I grew up thinking they didn't. I don't need any help because I'm tough. I'm strong.
Yeah. I mean, I think I didn't ask for help because I didn't have any available to me.
Well, right. I didn't think I could count on anybody. And that's what we've kind of said since the beginning of us, is you can't rely on anyone else. And luckily, we can rely on each other.
Literally from the beginning of our relationship, we have said it is us versus everybody. Mm-hmm. And like, not in a toxic, I want to go to war with everybody kind of way. It was just, there's nobody else but each other.
Well, and it always felt like everyone looked for something in return.
Oh, yeah.
Or even like, because, you know, my mom specifically, anytime there was any monetary exchange or they bought us lawn equipment from a yard sale, she wanted me to pay her back or pay for it.
That's one of the most bizarre things that I've ever experienced. They bought us that we just had bought our first house. Mm-hmm. Your brother lived with us. Mm-hmm. They told us $50 in lawn equipment. It was a lawnmower and some shovels and stuff. And then so we moved in. Valentine's Day is when we got the keys. We moved in at the end of February. And then your birthday is at the end of March. So they bought us that stuff at the beginning of March. And then they sent you a birthday card with a $50 bill in it.
Yeah.
They wanted us to pay them $50 for the lawn equipment and then sent you $50 for your birthday. And I was just like, why not just call it a fucking wash?
I mean,
just here's the lawn equipment. Happy birthday. Because why did we need to have this exchange?
Because it was always like that with her. But I don't feel like she was ever like that with my brother.
Definitely not. And like, I loved your brother. Mm-hmm. Your brother was my best friend in the whole world. Ben also suffered from depression, ultimately ended his own life. Mm-hmm. You know, but Ben had to be responsible for nothing.
Nothing.
Ever. His cell phone bill, his student loans, his car payments. I mean, I know that he contributed some.
Right. But like if he didn't or was like, I can't, she's like, all right, that's fine. Yeah. But I never had that option.
Yeah. At our wedding, I remember they walked up to me and they were like, okay, she's on your insurance now. Like auto insurance.
I don't even think there was like a congratulations. It was like, she's on your car insurance now, right? Like
at our fucking wedding ceremony, guys. And like, it's like one thing for it to be like a har. We've been talking about this for a while, but it was like a legitimate, like, no, you need to make that switch. And then we had to do our cell phones because we were on like a family plan because it was cheaper. And then it was like, oh, you guys need to get on your own cell phone plan.
Like I was just anything financially, like I was always responsible for, because, you know, with college, she took care of my brothers.
Yep. Your dad took care. Well, was supposed to have.
He was
taken
supposed to have taken care of mine,
right?
But like when he just stopped, because he was paying like $25 a month of interest, and then I started getting an email like, "Hey, you haven't made that payment yet," and so it's like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And then it's like, then I obviously had to take that over, and she was like, "Yeah, that sucks." That's unfortunate, but I do remember. And I said this to her too in one of those sessions that we had, when I decided to cut dad out, I was praised. He was a narcissist. He was a drunk. Good for you. You don't deserve that.
Yeah.
But then I was like, when the tables are turned to you, it's a problem.
Yep. Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not just a thing that you can talk about on Facebook or to your friends. I'm a fucking person.
And now you're dealing with the repercussions of that person's decisions.
Well, because the reason why I asked you if you felt guilty about not talking to your mom is because like not as often, but like I super felt guilty about it. Because like, with the kids' birthdays coming up, like I feel guilty not inviting them. But it's like, why would I invite them?
Right. Which is the conversation we've had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I honestly, after cutting my mom out, I've never felt happier because it eliminated so much drama from our lives. So much. And like, it's already enough work in your own life, anybody, to think about your own shit. Much less having to like balance your parents' shit, your sibling shit, your best friend shit. Like, it's hard enough to keep your own house in order. I don't need to worry about keeping yours in order. And
it's not my job to make sure they're happy.
No. I'm not here to support how you feel.
Times are changing. And if you're not changing with me, here's the door.
Yeah. Well, and we were learning how to be adults.
Yeah.
Like we were learning how to be grown-ups. And like, there was never like helpful advice. There was never like, oh, these are the things that are a good idea. It was all just shit we've learned on our own.
Yeah. Trial and error.
And
here
like,
we are.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And I think we're really fortunate to be in the position we are, given our upbringings and a lot of the stuff that we've been through in life, because we've been through it. But it's also just been like years of grinding, years of...
I'm so tired.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, you can't take a break. There's no
breaks.
There's no resting.
And I think that's the hardest part of not having a village.
Yeah.
Is like, there's no take the kids for a night. Take the kids for a weekend.
Right. I mean, it wasn't until this year that we started getting babysitters with any kind of regularity. And that's hit or miss depending on one of us being sick.
Right. They're sick. We're sick.
Yeah.
And then all of it, like the first time, like we had them come, it was great. 4 months later, literally 4 months later, I was like, oh shit, I never messaged her back.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, God, March is Wednesday.
Yeah.
Did you hear what I just said? March is Wednesday.
I heard you.
Oh my golly.
It is just, especially now being parents and being together for as long as we have, you start to really look at what are the most important things to have, because not only is cutting toxic people out of your life, it's also cutting toxic people out of your children's lives.
I don't want anyone to put their bad juju on my kids.
No.
Well, and I feel like, too, one of the best things, I don't know how. I mean, I guess I've always said, too, before I met you, I was an asshole.
Which I still think is so funny.
I thought I was the hottest thing to grace this universe. I was untouchable. And it's like, I don't know what happened when I met you, but like our self-reflection is just years beyond where it was, obviously before we started dating. And it's just like, I feel like that was one of the best things that we've ever done, is starting no one else is responsible for us other than us.
Yeah.
That's why it's like, am I the asshole? Well, maybe. Sometimes I am. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes like you need that check.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be able to like,
am I being unreasonable?
right.
And it's like, I don't know. If you feel like you are, there's probably an area of growth there for you.
Well, and I think there's also the aspect of like, honey, who do I need to go murder for you? Because I'll do it. Fuck them. They're dead to me. Mm-hmm. Oh, you want to have a relationship? Okay, yeah, they're great. I love them. Like I will support you in whatever you want to do or whoever you want in our lives. And we've talked about that with all of these different parenting
mm-hmm.
relationships and like, if they came back around or if we tried to make this happen again, and it's like, it is your relationship with your parents. And yes, they are my parents too now through marriage, but they didn't raise me.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't around when I was a child, and now you are the only living child on your side of the family. Because both your brother and your stepbrother have passed away.
Mm-hmm.
It's only me and my brother and my stepsister on my side. But, like at this point, I'm cool with being the black sheep.
Yeah.
I have accepted that role. And I don't, it's not like I feel ashamed for any of it. I'm just like, no, that's who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to put myself into what you want me to be.
Right.
I'm not going to be the mold of what you want. I want you to be proud of who I am, not what you wanted me to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I want my kids, our kids, to feel like, is that no matter who they are, what they are, who they love, whatever, they know that we love and support them
mm-hmm.
in everything.
Everything.
If, they want to be a stripper, sex worker, all right, be safe about it. Cool. If one of our children is gay, do they take care of you? Do they treat you well?
Right. Are they a good person?
Are you happy?
Yeah.
Great. The only line in the sand for me is drugs. Like, just don't go fucking kill yourself with some bullshit. Like, just, are you happy? Then that's all I care about. Then I have done my job.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is just fucking sprinkles, baby.
Because I want to, like, if they have a podcast 30 years from now and someone's like, what's your happiest childhood memory? I want them to have so many they can't just choose one.
Yeah.
And not, my case where I just don't remember anything.
Yeah. Like I said, I got to really dig through the mind palace to get to the good stuff. I got to get through some like dark corridors.
Because I was like, birthday parties. Like, do I even remember a good birthday party? I don't remember any birthday parties.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I've often felt guilty about not doing more for you for your birthday because, like, I don't know. I've always felt like birthdays are really special, and I don't really remember having mine celebrated a lot. And I was always like, well, if I want it, I assume she probably wants it too. But then it's like you said, March is fucking Wednesday.
Well, right.
It's just like every year it sneaks up on me and I'm like, fuck.
Time flies. Because I always feel like we kind of hold off on like a big celebration for me and do it for yours. Because yours is in the summer.
Yeah.
I mean, March, it might be 70. Like the one time I remember years ago, we sat outside Carrabba's on the patio for my birthday.
Uh-huh.
The next year, there was like 2 feet of snow.
Yeah.
Like March is just, you don't know what March is going to do.
July is pretty consistent.
Yeah. Nice. Hot.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like any trips and stuff. It's like, yeah, we'll just wait till your birthday.
I know, but it's like, your life deserves to be celebrated every year.
I know. I don't know. I guess I don't ask for much. And maybe that's because I never felt like my birthday was super special.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, I don't know, just another day.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. But this year we're doing something special for me.
True.
Drought.
Yeah. I hope our kids just are overwhelmed with
I
happiness.
hope so. I want
all the time.
You know, if they decide to have kids, like I want them to want us to be there, to be their village, and like because it's like I'm not going to treat.
But I want them to choose us.
Yes.
Like I want them to have the option of anybody on the planet to be beside them, and they choose us every time.
I want my picture to be in their house because they want it to be there, not because I gifted them a photo of me.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. They took the picture and printed it out. They framed it. They want to do family pictures, and they want us to be there.
That's what I want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sheesh.
I just want happy kids.
Yeah.
Happy, healthy kids. All the rest of it, whatever, baby. Roll with it.
Gravy.
It's gonna happen. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
They're already fucking great. So
I mean, I'm biased, but they're the best kids ever. They're asshole. Well, the little one's easy.
yeah.
The big one's kind of an asshole sometimes, but like, you know, she's figuring stuff out. She's got to be an asshole to figure out how to not be an asshole, is what I've been told.
Well, I believe it.
Yeah. Do you want to do a card?
I do.
Okay.
I read the top one, so I'm gonna not pick that one.
All right.
Stick it away. Ready? What is something you like that most people don't?
Something I like that most people don't. Oof.
Metalcore music.
Yeah, I guess it's hard because it's like I only talk to or surround myself with people that are
like that
have like similar interests, right? So like most of the people I know or talk to on any regular basis like that, like heavy metal, metalcore.
I can't
music.
think of anything that I like that most people don't.
I was trying to think of like an obscure food or something that I really enjoy that people are like, "Ooh, you like that?" But like I was always so picky as a kid that like it's like chicken tenders and French fries.
Yeah, who doesn't like that?
Yeah.
Oh, when were your parents most disappointed in you?
Ooh.
I have to pick one. I don't know the answer to that one either.
Yeah, that one's a hard one. I mean, like I remember, you know, like bad grades and stuff. See, I was so scared of authority as a kid that like I didn't fuck around with. I didn't sneak out. I didn't go to parties. I was afraid of low grades. So like I didn't leave a whole lot of room for disappointment, but it's because I was scared of disappointing somebody.
Because I know I did get caught like in lies. Like I was over at my boyfriend's house when I said I was at my friend's house, or like those kinds of things. So I'm sure there was. Well, I did get caught in the basement a couple times with boyfriend at the time. So probably that.
Yeah.
Whatever, man.
You're underage.
Well, that was later. I don't think that was so much of a disappointment. It was more for me being like, ha ha, I was bad and you didn't know. Ha ha, I snuck out every day of the summer of my junior year. Ha ha.
Yeah.
You had no idea. I could have died.
There's a lot of situations where that could happen, but now I feel like I'm gonna have to think more about like a disappointment moment and then like something I like that other people don't.
Yeah.
Because I don't have an immediate like knee jerk answer. Whoa.
Someone walked over my grave.
I guess maybe like some of it would be like I like some anime. I know anime is like a big thing, but like, you know, there's a lot of people that are like, I don't get anime. But I'm also not like a weeb, you know what I mean? Like, but I liked like Jujutsu Kaisen was cool.
That was a good one. That Demon Slayer one was good that we watched.
Demon Slayer was good.
Because I remember I watched it all by myself and I recorded a section of it and sent it to you like, this show is crazy.
When she kicked that demon's head off.
Yeah.
Was the one.
That was wild.
Attack on Titan was good. I like that one a lot.
A bunch of naked people.
They are naked, indeed. I guess I don't have like weird tastes in anything that I can think of. I mean, I'm really into cars. I know that there's a lot of people that couldn't give two shits about cars, what they drive, what's the new thing coming out. I love like tech stuff. I have a lot of like hobbies and things that I'm interested in.
Sure.
So I feel like if there was a Venn diagram of all of the things that I was interested in, there's not a lot of people that are in the same overlap of things.
Could be.
Could be.
I have to think about it. All right, well, let us know if you like the more serious episodes or not.
And if you didn't, well, I don't know how many of these we'll do because they're kind of a bummer.
I don't know. Comment anyway if you didn't like it.
Yeah.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
If you made it to the end of our several... Well,
it was a long one. I didn't think it was going to be this long, but here we are.
And honestly, I feel like we probably could go for another 10 hours on just this stuff. Like, you could deep dive in just the sections of it.
Oh, yeah. So if you want to hear more about our depressing childhoods, holla.
Yeah, we'll keep talking about it. We talk about it all the time.
Yeah, we do. We talk about it privately, so we'll just sit in our chairs and... Yeah, no. So let us know your shit, your dark and twistiness.
Yeah, you could do that.
Or not.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't want to,
I don't want to tell you what to do.
Yeah, like, I don't want to force anybody into, like, unveiling some dark shit if they're not wanting to do that with the internet.
Yeah.
Do it. Okay.
Share your dark and twisties. Bye.